Happening this Saturday, the Boulevard, one of Richmond's most popular streets, will officially be renamed in honor of one of the city's most popular residents, Arthur Robert Ashe Jr. Well, tonight I began a series of stories highlighting the honoree. He was an athlete, an activist, and most importantly, a true gentleman whose life on and off the tennis court continues to impact the world, even almost 30 years after his death, which is why quite a few people say this recognition is long overdue.
Oh man, a lot of excitement. A lot of folks were like, finally.
Like anyone who completes a long journey, David Harris is excited yet exhausted.
I think I'm looking at about 2 years now.
2 years of conversations, council meetings, and cold responses over a topic that's actually been visited in this community off and on for nearly 3 decades. A lot of back.
92% of the people who responded were opposed to a name changing.
And forth.
It's about time we take a new road and let this intersection lead us forward and let Monument Avenue be our path.
All over whether to rename the Boulevard, a well-known Richmond street, in honor of Harris's well-known Richmond uncle.
Uncle Arthur, that's what I call him.
Arthur Robert Ashe Jr., a hometown hero who already had a statue on Monument Avenue and even a building named in his honor. But Harris believed he deserved more.
Jefferson Davis Highway, you have Stewart Circle. Those guys have statues too. So why not acknowledge our black heroes and their accolades with a street and a statue? Look at the history and look at my uncle's background and the things that he did. It's a pretty easy no-brainer.
And what a background it is. Ashe was born in Richmond in 1943, where he first picked up a tennis racket at the age of 6 years old. And from that moment on, his talent on the court led him to become a young man of quite a few firsts. In 1960, he became the first African American to win the National Junior Indoor Tennis Tournament. He eventually went on to become the first black player selected for the U.S. Davis Cup team, and the only black man to win the singles title at Wimbledon, the U.S. Open, and the Australian Open. This quiet 6'1" phenom became a household name all over the world. However, when it came to his family,
we never really talked about his accolades. We just had hey, this is Uncle, and what have you been doing with it? If we went to the movies, if we were running a little late, we were going to be stopped in the parking lot, And, he acknowledged us. He acknowledged all those people.
Which is why he took on this grueling race for recognition, pushing to have his uncle acknowledged just a little bit more here in Richmond, a city with its segregated past that ultimately helped to shape Ashe into the athlete, Army officer, advocate, and author many remember. And it's a city which finally decided to go down a new road and honor the contributions he made, not just here at home, but around the world.
One of the most exclusive streets in the city. Yes. Yes. Full circle in life, finally. There's still a lot to learn from him, even though he's not here with us. We're still learning. And this is our opportunity to make history together.
And Harris says the journey will not end with Saturday's street unveiling. There are a lot of other ideas in the works to further Ashe's mission of helping the community. So, of course, stay tuned for that. But the 3-day celebration of the new Arthur Ashe Boulevard begins this Thursday. You can find a complete list of all the events on the NBC12 News app. In his book, Days of Grace, Arthur Ashe begins his story by writing, his reputation is his most prized possession. And today, 26 years after his death, he maintains a reputation of being a champion both on and off the tennis court. This Saturday, hundreds of people will come together to recognize and celebrate that reputation with the official unveiling of the new Arthur Ashe Boulevard. It's a nod to the legacy of excellence many say he left behind, and it's a legacy now influencing a new generation.
Push it.
Keep them feet on the ground now.
Ready? Here we go.
As with anything, you have to start somewhere. For these students, the game of tennis begins here on the courts behind Armstrong High School.
Reach, reach, reach.
It's all part of a program through the Metro Richmond Tennis Club, which prides itself on building kids with every serve.
There you go.
And for about 10 years now, they've built hundreds of them.
We give kids an opportunity to learn how to play the game of tennis and understand that some of the same choices you make on tennis court, make the same choices in life.
Both 17-year-old Kendall Green and 18-year-old Charleston Freeman chose to learn the game nearly a decade ago. And since then, their confidence on the court
Let's go, girl.
has grown as much as their competence.
I would say I'm just as great as the pros almost. I'm a left-handed person, so that means my serve will always be a spin. I have a natural spin, so no right-handed person they couldn't match it.
Big serve, good forehand, solid forehand.
They work hard perfecting their game, individually as well as a pair, and they have the awards and the scholarship offers to prove it. However, there's also an additional perk.
You build good friendships with tennis. You get to travel, play tournaments, meet new friends.
Lifelong friends, which Lenny Simpson knows all too well. Back when he was 9 years old, the North Carolina native played with a club similar to the Metro Richmond Tennis Club. He was the youngest person chosen to be part of a new tennis junior development team in Lynchburg, created by Dr. Robert Johnson, who was considered the godfather of black tennis.
Dr. Johnson believed in the philosophy of old school. And the old school method is the older kids take care of the younger kids. So he assigned Arthur Ashe to take care of little Lenny Simpson. And so that's how it all started.
At the time, his new friend, Arthur Ashe, was 15 years old, and they traveled the tennis circuit together.
I think what was so special about his game is, number one, of the adversity that he had to go up against in order to just hit a tennis ball, a simple tennis ball. Not only did he have to worry about the other great players in the country that he had to play against, but he had to go up against all of the adversities of the color of his skin.
Like Ashe, Simpson went on to break records as a professional tennis player. He eventually founded the One Love tennis program for children in his hometown of Wilmington. But through it all, his friendship with his world-famous mentor lasted until Ashe passed away in 1993.
We called each other and promised each other that we would call each other every 7 days, and we never missed not calling each other every 7 days, no matter where we were. He was my hero because of what he stood for, because of what he did, and how he accomplished what he did with a racket in his hand or with a racket not in his hand. He did it with dignity and grace, and I will never, ever forget him for all of the rest of my entire life.
And Arthur Ashe's legacy of doing it the right way continues to influence the way the game is taught today to all of these young friends of the Metro Richmond Tennis Club.
You see what he did and how classy he was, and that's what we try to teach the kids. Be a good person on and off the court. He wasn't rich. He got an opportunity like we try to give to them, and like we tell them, I'm not saying you're going to be the next Wimbledon star, but you could take it further than it started.
Ashe started and finished strong in tennis and in life, which these players, in between serving aces and set points, are striving to do as well.
Life isn't easy, but just like Arthur, we all will push through.
So when it comes to the renaming of the Boulevard in honor of a person they truly admire,
I think it's well deserved of him, and I wish he was around to see it.
Now, the Metro Richmond Tennis Club offers programs for adults as well. So if you'd like more information on the club or on the 3-day celebration, which kicks off tomorrow in honor of the new Arthur Ashe Boulevard, you can find it all on the NBC12 News app. And tonight at 7 o'clock, you can be part of a special digital dialogue as well. I'll be joined by several guests to talk about Ashe's life and legacy, as well as the significance of renaming the Boulevard. Again, that's tonight at 7 o'clock, streaming live on the NBC12 Facebook page, as well as our Roku and Amazon Fire channels. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. That's the message on this mural dedicated to tennis great Arthur Ashe in Richmond's Battery Park. However, back when Ashe was growing up, he actually could not play a lot of tennis in this park because it had fallen into disrepair. Perhaps that experience led him to push for adequate facilities for all children who wanted to learn the game. He used his star power to fight for them and for so many other causes. That's why today, as the community prepares to celebrate a street renaming in his honor, it's not hard to find people who continue to do what they can for him, no matter how small the task.
The statue area does not have irrigation system.
It's not easy labor.
So we're trying to keep the new plants from dying of thirst.
But it is a labor of love for Shima Grover and her husband Joe. On any given morning, you'll find this couple working diligently behind these orange cones.
Watch the traffic. They really fly past here.
Maintaining and adding touches of beauty to the Arthur Ashe Jr. Monument here on Monument Avenue. They are both members of the Richmond Tennis Association, a group they joined when they moved to the city 13 years ago.
And when we moved here, the first thing we did was to look for some place Arthur Ashe is memorialized, and there's some place for tennis volunteers to work.
They found both, and since then, they've mulched, planted, watered, and cleaned an area dedicated to a man they have admired for decades.
He was not only a wonderful talented tennis player from Richmond, but also he was very active and advocating for less fortunate.
Ashe served as hard off the tennis court as he did on it, quietly yet powerfully pushing for social change, even while battling his own challenges. After suffering several heart attacks, he touted the importance of heart health as the national chairman of the American Heart Association. He faced jail time as he protested racism in South Africa, as well as what he considered unfair policies against Haitians here in the U.S. And after contracting AIDS from a tainted blood transfusion during bypass surgery in 1983, he traveled the world, raising awareness about the disease and even founding the Arthur Ashe Institute for Urban Health, which addresses issues of inadequate health care service. He was a champion who championed for others, which is why the Grovers joined thousands of people all over the world in continuing to be there for him. Whether it is something as big as a street dedication.
I was at all the meetings speaking for the renaming.
Or something as small as street beautification around this statue built in his honor.
And we just don't want people to forget what he was and how he came from Richmond, Virginia.
The three-day celebration of the unveiling of Arthur Ashe Boulevard begins tonight at 7 o'clock with a social justice forum at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts. You can find a complete list of all of the events on the NBC12 News app. It was definitely a celebration fit for a champion who made history. And today, people from near and far came to witness a history-making moment once again involving Arthur Ashe. Under a blazing sun, hundreds came together to honor one of Richmond's most famous sons.
Arthur Ashe was big in the hood, you know, because of the way he was with people.
Which is why many of them, including a few political heavy hitters, filled the front lawn of the Virginia Museum of History and Culture for a street renaming celebration of the athlete and activist. Caden Grayson came from Dinwiddie County with his mom.
My mom taught me about the contributions he's made to Richmond and how he was a champion outside of the tennis court and all the things that he's done.
I thought it was very necessary to be here, you know, and for my son to be here.
Now, like any celebration, there was singing, dancing, and mingling with several familiar faces. But this was more of a party with a purpose, and that was to recognize the achievements of Arthur Ashe, who rose above racism and other adversities here in his hometown to not only become a world-famous athlete, but also an equally famous activist, something Congressman John Lewis knows a bit about.
Never, ever give up. Never, ever get lost in the sea of despair. Keep the faith. Keep your eyes on the prize.
The Georgia representative and civil rights leader served as keynote speaker of the special occasion, reminding the crowd of where this country has been and where it can go based on our community involvement. A lesson 12-year-old Mackenzie Nelson took to heart.
I learned that you have a voice and that you can use it. Just try your best. Don't give up for anything.
And it's a lesson many of all ages will always remember each time they travel the new Arthur Ashe Boulevard.
It's a step in the right direction.
And the celebration continues tonight at the Graduate Hotel with an after party. It runs from 8 till 11 o'clock tonight. On your side on the new Arthur Ashe Boulevard, I'm Karla Redditte, NBC12.